Ahoy there, YouTube! I'm back again today for another game review. Today, I'm very excited checking out Kero from Hurricane. This is for 2 players. Age is 9+. It'll take about 30 minutes to play. And in Kero, you are out in the wasteland. You and one other player are going to be going head-to-head out in the wasteland, trying to explore different areas in order to gain the victory points and resources on those areas. And on your turn, rolling dice as fast as you can, trying to collect the symbols that you need in order to get cards, lay down things, collect gas, and do a variety of other different things. It's got some very interesting mechanisms that you would not expect from a game like this at first glance, but do they all meld together to make a good game? Let's open it up, and I'll tell you what I think. Alrighty then, we're going to take a look at what you're going to get inside of Kero. So first and foremost, we have a handy-dandy rule booklet. It is a lot of pages, but you're only going to need one language, most likely. So the actual rule booklet itself goes from page 20 to page 11. So about 9-10 pages, double-sided, full color, full of pictures, illustrations, examples, and it's not very well done. And it's the kind of thing where you're going to learn how to play the game and you're going to know what you're doing, but there are going to be, I think we had maybe 3 or 4 different questions we had. We're like, wait, what happens if this happens? Can we do this? Is this something that's allowed in the game? And they're not answered in here. It's just not as comprehensive as you're going to need it to be. And it's all little things. It's little things that really should have came up in playtesting, and you're like, well, how do they not include that in there? So that is definitely an annoyance. Not a deal breaker, but an annoyance nonetheless. So let's go over how you're going to play Kero. So in Kero, what you're trying to do is you're trying to get the most points over the course of 3 rounds. You're going to gain points by acquiring cards and by winning different locations out here in an area control style manner while rolling dice in a speed rolling dice type situation. What am I talking about? Let's go over what's going on here. So first and foremost, we got the board, and the board's all set up. Each player is going to have their own different side with their own different characters. Everyone's going to start with 2 of these tiles right here, which will do some very powerful things. So for instance, this one's going to let me roll 2 additional dice on my turn, and this one's going to allow me to move different pieces to different spots, which will be great for the area control aspect down here. Everyone's also going to start with gasoline. Gasoline is very important in this game because it will allow you to do a couple different things. To buy these tiles, to buy additional dice to roll on your turn, and to refill your gas tank, which obviously is going to be one of the stars of the show. I mean, look at this thing. Look at this thing. This thing is huge. This is a sand timer inside of a semi-truck, and each player has their own sand timer inside a semi-truck, and this is how much time you're going to have on your turn in order to complete your dice rolling. It's really kind of an interesting aspect. I'll show it to you in a minute. Next, you're going to have these cards over here. And the cards, really great cards, do a lot of different things. So for instance, this one, if you have 2 wheat, it's going to give you 3 gas, and it's going to give you 1 victory point at the end of the game. So the 1 up there is the victory points at the end of the game. This one, very, very powerful. It's going to give you 3 gears, and it's going to let you play down 2 of your pieces onto 2 or 1 of these spaces out here. And we'll go over the spaces a little bit later. So it doesn't give you victory points, but being able to place 2 of these could be very, very swingy. Also, there are going to be 10 persistent special abilities. They'll have this symbol up here in the right-hand corner. I don't think any of them give you points, but they're going to... So, for instance, this one, you will always get the blue die. Whenever you roll, you will always have the blue die. And, for instance, this one right here, you will always start with +1 gas. So at the beginning of your turn, you're always going to get +1 gas, which is great. And you get these little tiles over here, and you can kind of put them in these little black spots to help you remember that you have them. But that's really the only purpose of the tiles. I mean, you could just keep the cards in front of you, but hey, I suppose having the tiles and having the cards is better than just having one or the other. But there's a whole bunch of different cards. The gold back cards are the starter cards, but then once you start getting into the game, you're going to hit these cards right here, which will end a round. So you set up the game a little bit wonky. You're going to have 3 piles, and you're going to have 1 card in each of the piles, mix it up. So you're never quite sure when the game is going to end. Or if you have 2 games, you could have round 2 and round 3 potentially end at the same during the same end game. And that'll make more sense later, I think, because it doesn't explain if you can do that in the rules. But let's just get into the game, and you'll quickly understand what's going on. Last but not least, we have these spots right down here. Whoever has the most tiles on there is going to win that tile once you hit the round end. So this one's going to give you 4 points. This one's going to give you 2 points, a gas, and 2 of these things. This one's 1 victory point per green card you have. But let's just show you how it's going to work on your turn. So on your turn, here's what you're going to do. The first thing you're going to do is you are going to decide if you want to refuel your tanker. So what happens is if you run out of gas while you're rolling the dice on your turn, it's really bad and your whole turn is just forfeited. Like, you just lose your entire turn. So you don't want that to happen. So what you can do is you can say, all right, I'm going to refuel with the gas, or you can even refuel 2 times. So you turn in the gas, and then the other player gets all 8 dice, and then you are going to bloop, flip this over, and they're going to try and roll 7 fire symbols. So 1, 2, yeah, we saw it. You know it was there. 1, 2, whatever, 3, 4, 5. And it doesn't even matter at this point because they're full up, but there you go. So that would be me, and now I have a full tank of gas, which is great, and I can go ahead and take my turn. So on your turn, you're going to get the 5 white dice. If you would like to purchase additional dice, you can spend a gas can to do it. So you know what? I will. I'm actually going to spend a gas can to do it. Put it over there, and I would really like gears. Maybe gears are good. Yeah, let's go with gears. So I'm going to go with that. So I have paid for that. So I'm going to flip my truck over like so, and then I'm going to roll the dice and try and get exactly what I want. Now, if you get fire symbols, you have to set those off to the side. Let's see what I got. I got 2 dudes, and I got that symbol, which means I'm close to getting this card. So you know what? I'm actually going to keep doing that. Oh, that's terrible. So now that makes me question everything. I'm just going to stop. I'm going to stop right there because I'm wasting time right now. I'm thinking too much. So I have 2 dudes and I have a cog. So what can I do with that? Well, there's a couple different choices. You can buy any of the cards you have down here. You can spend gas to get the stuff. Or you can do this little action right here, which we actually missed the first time we played because we just did. It's not clearly defined, and I didn't see it in the rules. It might be in the rules and I just missed it, but it needed to be bigger than this. But you can turn in 1 dude and 1 gear to also place down one of your explorers out here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pick up this one right here because it's going to give me a point to do it. So just place that right there, and then I can put one of these out here, and I think gas in 2 of those symbols would be really helpful. Place that there. I got a cog. Cog's wasted. And that's pretty much the end of my turn, except for the fact that I rolled 3 flames. So if you roll 2 or more flames, you're going to burn the finalmost card into this discard pile. And it even says right there, 2 or more flames. So now we're going to replenish the draw pile. And that would be my turn, and then it would go over to the other player's turn. And the other player is going to do the exact same thing, except I'm going to be the one, if they're refueling, who's going to be rolling the dice. But that's really it. You're going to continue to go back and forth, rolling the dice as fast as you can, trying to acquire cards, trying to place out pieces. And like I said, once you get to the very first one of these, that's going to end that particular round, at which point you'll see who's got the majority over here. They will win these points, and they'll also win whatever goodies are on there. So let's just pretend I wanted those 2. They get these back. And that's it. You're going to rinse, wash, repeat. You get 4 new tiles out there. The discarded ones go back into the box. And you're going to go until 3 rounds have been over. Now, if the first player ends the game at 3 rounds, then this stays out. You still do the area majority, but then the last player has 1 opportunity to still score points, because if they can put 1 there, then they'll get 1 point or 2 points. 2 there, they'll get 3 points, which is actually really good. Could be really pretty good, depending on how the game is shaping up. But that, in a nutshell, is what you're going to do inside of Kero. Alrighty then, Kero from Hurricane. What are my final thoughts? Let's go over the pros, let's go over the cons. First, on the con side, game's not going to be for everybody for a variety of different reasons. 2 players, very restricted player count. Also, the game is not going to be for people who get stressed out easily when timed. This is all about being timed and being fast, and it really does come up. If you forget to fuel up before you go out, and maybe the dice don't go quite as you expected, there's a very real possibility that you are going to run out of time, which I didn't actually mention what happens in the middle part, but if you run out of time in the middle part, you lose your turn. Like, it's just, your turn's over, it costs 5 white dice to do anything, and so your turn is pretty much just over. And if you're not a fan of speed games, or someone you play 2-player games with is not a fan of speed games, this is not for you, any way, shape, or form. Also, the rules should have been better. There were, I think, as I mentioned, probably about 2, 3, 4 different things in the rules where I was like, I think this is how it's supposed to work. I think that's what's supposed to happen. I'm not quite sure. Can we do that? Like, can you just have round 2 and round 3 end on the same card draw? Because there's tiles that will say, hey, you can destroy an extra card. And I did that once. I bought 2 cards, and then I destroyed 2 cards, so we were placing 4 cards out there, and I was like, oh, well, the game's over immediately. Because I was the second player, and it was just very anticlimactic. And it was like, well, can we do that? I was like, well, it wasn't the rules. Same with, like, the little round tiles. Can you play those round tiles whenever you want? I'm assuming you can, but that's the kind of thing that needs to be in the rule booklet. Also, the fact that I completely missed an action the first time we played this game. Like, how does that happen? Like, I've never had that happen before in a game where it's just like, oh, we also could have done this action. That's on the board, but it's in such a small print on the board. That was a weird graphical design choice, and I wish they would have highlighted that a little bit more. Also, something one of the kids in my class wanted me to mention was they felt like the brown ship should have had, the brown truck should have had a brown tanker, and the gray ship could have had the gray tanker, which I actually really agree with, because it's like, wait, is this browns or is this grays? Because those are the 2 colors in the game. I don't know. It seemed odd that they would not make the trucks all the same color. But that's a minor nitpick. The biggest con that I have with this game is that I played it 3 times, and I feel like I saw everything this game had to show me. It's kind of like, if you meet somebody and they have like this wild, crazy fetish, you're like, oh my gosh, they're going to be a freak. And then you get in there, it's like, it's that wild, crazy fetish, but then there's nothing else. It's just missionary. And that's what this game really felt like to me. That's a very odd example. Wow. That's what it felt like. It was just like, oh, we got this cool dice rolling, and we got the trucks going on, and we got these persistent special abilities, and like, do you have anything else? Like, no. And the second game and the third game, and I imagine every frequent game after that is going to feel pretty samey. There's also a lot of luck in this, like tons and tons and tons of luck in this, because if you roll poorly, you roll poorly. There are some ways that you can mitigate the dice roll with certain tiles and certain persistent special abilities, but for the most part, if those don't pop up or you're not able to get those because you roll poorly, it's just, oh, you rolled really good this game, you're going to win. I mean, and that's not going to be for everybody as well. Any other cons I have with the game? Rule booklet, that action, one-trick pony for the most part. No, that's what I got. Moving on to the pros, I think this is an okay to good game. And it's really hard for me to recommend. I can't really recommend this game unless you absolutely love speed dice racing, but then it's still just a try before you buy, and I think you're probably going to be underwhelmed by the game and not get it either. So, what did I like about the game? First, the aesthetic appeal of this game is great. The components are top-notch in this game. Components look great, and they will draw you to the game. Like, if you see this game set out, and I actually did see this game set out before I got it, I was like, wow, that game looks really cool. I want to try that game. But unfortunately, it looks really pretty, but then once you get deep down, it's like pretty okay. Also, the box insert. Holy shnikes. This is one of the best box inserts I've ever seen. Like, it works absolutely perfect. It even has, like, an ingrain of the game and, like, an image from the front cover, which is great. There's little spots to fill everything, and it's an absolutely outstanding box insert. Hurricane really knocked it out of the park on this box insert. I wish they would have spent a little bit more time on the game design, though, and adding more cards. I like the concept of the gas. I think that's a really cool concept. It doesn't work as well as I would like it to, or the game itself doesn't work as well as I would like it to, but the concept of running out of gas and having to refuel and making those decisions with really harsh penalties, I really like that idea. I am a big fan of these harsh penalties, because if you go out on the road and you run out of gas and you're in the wasteland, that works thematically. And I will say, I'm going to give this one a solid B+ on theme. I think the theme, if you're thinking about it, comes across pretty well, especially, like the dice rolling. It's like I'm trying to get the resources that I need fast and frantic before I run out of dice, and that works. And I like that. I really do like that. I wish the game was better, though. Any other pros that I have with the game? No, not really. I think it's okay. I think it's good. Okay to good. I think that's where most people are going to find it. I don't think most people are going to think this is a great game. I do think that some people could think this is a terrible game if you don't like speed dice rolling, though. But for most people, I think it's going to go okay to good. And I think it's one that I really can't recommend to just about anybody, because, restricted player count, rules should have been better. Just all the stuff I talked about in the column. So in the end, Kero from Hurricane. I think this is one that's going to get lost in time. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing because I don't think it's the greatest game. So there you go. If you enjoyed this review, please be sure to click on that subscribe button down below and in the comments below. Let me know. Post-apocalyptic wasteland or post-apocalyptic sci-fi? Which would you prefer to live in? Hey, personally, I'm going to go with the sci-fi all day because I'm assuming since it's sci-fi, even the post-apocalyptic stuff is going to be good. Like, I'll have, you know, record players. Like, I'm thinking like Bioshock E as opposed to Fallout E. You know, I feel like the creatures are going to be more terrifying in the space one, but I feel like the actual quality of living would be better than in the post-apocalyptic wasteland. Let me know in the comments below. You want to go Mad Max or you want to go Bioshocky? And as always, thanks for your time, YouTube.